Look, I know that the Sonic community is very divided right now between what we think is good for the franchise and what's bad for the franchise, but if there's one thing that we can all collectively agree on, it's that Sonic 06 is one of the worst things to happen to this franchise. Heck, even if you are someone that likes this game despite its flaws, you can't deny that it played a huge part in harming Sonic's reputation in the gaming world over the years. This has been stated several times already by other people in the community, so I won't waste your time by going over those same details again. While on the subject, however, something has always bothered me when people talk about this game, and that's the claim that 06 is supposed to be a reboot for the franchise. Now, back when I was younger, I used to blindly believe this rumor since practically everyone and their mama shouted this on a lot of forums back in the day. But as I started to replay through the game again recently and started doing my own research on it, I haven't been able to find anything that 100% confirms that this was the intention behind the game. Now brace yourselves, because I'm about to hit you guys with a boomer flashbang right now, but despite what some sources might say, Sonic 06 is not a reboot.
What? What first take are you spewing out now, Boomer?
Yeah, I'm being serious, Bowie. This game is not a reboot. Anyone who actually knows what a reboot means can easily see that it's not one.
Are you demented by chance? Because the Wikipedia literally says that was the intention, you idiot!
Interesting. Well, you do know the Wikipedia is not a completely trustable source since it can be edited at any time by people who may not even be credible researchers, right?
That still doesn't disprove that this game was supposed to be the rebirth of the franchise.
Exactly, which is why I plan to go more in depth on the subject if you'll let me.
Fine. Go on and spread your boomerisms then. You'll only make Sonic fans sick of you.
Oh please, Bowie. At this point, Sonic fans are already sick of themselves. Anyway, buckle down and prepare yourselves because I'm about to explain to you all why Sonic 06 is not a reboot. Now before I can even tell you guys why Sonic 06 is not a reboot, we first have to understand what exactly is a reboot of a franchise. According to Google and some other sources around the web, a reboot series is a television show or film franchise that restarts its continuity from scratch, disregarding previous storylines and often replacing the cast while maintaining the core concept or characters. It modernizes the original material, allowing new stories to be told without adhering to established plot history. Essentially, a reboot for a franchise is just like rebooting your computer or any other smart device. It clears some of your system's memory and closes all of your open applications at the cost of hard restarting your device, in turn offering a fresh experience for the user when they use the device. In the same vein, a reboot for a franchise usually takes the established core characters of the series but erases previous continuities to start a fresh new timeline for it. This is usually done to fix or replace the original story and other elements of the franchise so that developers can start from ground zero. An example of games that are actual full-fledged reboots would be Tomb Raider 2013 and DMC Devil May Cry. Both the games still keep some of the core main characters, but their backgrounds and stories are completely altered from how they were in their original continuities, essentially making the audience have to relearn the characters and story like they did when they first got into the franchise. They even offer shifts in their gameplay and character designs compared to their original games, which makes them follow the definition of a reboot. Now apply that same definition to Sonic 06 and you'll easily understand why it's not a reboot. It's clear the game is not starting from ground zero again because it still calls back to some previous plot points in the series, such as Shadow now working for Gun to reference him putting the past behind him in Shadow 05, or even Tails maintaining his character development from the adventure game since he still acts independent here just as he did then. In fact, all the legacy characters in this game still act how they did in the previous games, with the exception of Blaze of course, but just have a little maturity sprinkled within their narrative now. If Sonic 06 truly was a reboot, the game would have started with no established pieces of the lore or characters, and we the audience would have had to relearn it all again as we progress through the story. The story would have also attempted to differentiate its background to confirm that it's not related to the previous stories at all. Kinda similar to what Sonic Boom and the Sonic movie franchise did, and they're not even trying to be reboots. Even worse, the gameplay of 06 hardly tries to reinvent the series the same way actual video game reboots do, because it practically takes nearly every gameplay element from the previous games and crams it all together on one disc, and hardly offers anything new outside of the gem system and being able to play as Silver. Heck, if you even go back and watch some of the early gameplay trailers of this game, it's clear that Sega and Sonic Team intended for 06 to be the next main installment in the series, not a complete restart of the entire franchise like some people claim it is. And since it does not follow the definition of what a reboot is, I just can't see how anyone can call it one. Okay, so I just proved to you guys that Sonic 06 is not a reboot. So then what the heck is this game then? Why does Sega and Sonic Team hype up this game so much in the mid-2000s and market it as an anniversary title and even claim that this game was supposed to be the rebirth of the franchise when it's not a reboot? Well, the truth is that Sonic 06 is actually a soft reboot. Now I know some of you are giving me that look right now like I've been playing in your face this whole time. And you're probably thinking, Boomer, you literally just said that this game is a reboot, and now you're saying that this game is a soft reboot? Aren't you just saying that Sonic 06 is a reboot at this point? And to that, I say wrong. There is a huge difference between a reboot and a soft reboot of a franchise. Utilizing Google again, a soft reboot is a new installment in a film, game, or TV franchise that refreshes the series while maintaining the continuity of previous works, unlike a hard reboot that wipes the slate clean. It serves as a new entry point for new audiences, usually featuring new characters or actors while honoring past events through legacy characters, nostalgia, and references. So in a nutshell, unlike a full-fledged reboot where you completely restart your whole device, a soft reboot would be more like refreshing a tab on your browser. It usually auto-saves the information you typed, allowing you to continue building off of it, but just with a less buggy or glitchy application. Well, for the most part anyway. In similar fashion, a soft reboot for a game franchise would be making a game that continues the legacy of the previous entries, but just gives the series a fresh new coat of paint to appeal towards the new generation. For example, some people would consider Street Fighter IV to be a soft reboot for the Street Fighter franchise since it had been a decade since the previous game at the time came out, and this was the first Street Fighter game to be released on 7th gen consoles. But it still continues the legacy the old Street Fighters left off by retaining in most of the legacy characters and mechanics while also attempting to move the series forward with just a new coat of paint. It also retains the classic game's art style but makes it more appealing to modern audiences. These same principles can be applied to Sonic 06. Yes, the series acts as some sort of rebirth for the franchise, but it doesn't try to restart the franchise from the beginning. It continues the legacy of the previous Sonic titles, but just gives the series a much more refreshing feel towards it to prepare Sonic for the 7th generation of gaming, on top of offering a story that moves forward from the adventure stories and, like I said earlier, trying to combine the best aspects of the previous 3D games into one huge game. That last part it obviously failed at, but hey, you guys get the memo. Heck, you can even argue that Sonic Adventure 1 was also a soft reboot for the franchise, considering that it was the first mainline Sonic game at the time to use a new 3D art style, utilize full voice acting for the characters, offering a more deep and complex story that expands upon the lore of the classic Sonic games, and for being the first Sonic game that utilizes the modern redesigns of the characters we see today. Of course though, that's a whole discussion for a whole different video. The main point is that Sonic 06 is more of a soft reboot than a full-fledged reboot like some people think it is.
Well, that's sure great and all, Boomer. Too bad you explained all of that for nothing, because Sonic piece of trash that shouldn't exist 06 has the same title as the very first freaking game in the series. So clearly there was some kind of attempt for this game to be a reboot, you dummy.
Again, Bowie, wrong.
What the f-
I think this is part of the reason why a lot of people presume that a certain part of a franchise is a reboot when it isn't necessarily one, and that's the stereotype that just because a later entry shares the same name as the first entry of a franchise, that is trying to be a full-fledged reboot. Now for some franchises this can be the case, but you can't apply that to every other franchise since the intentions behind doing this can mean something else that isn't related to rebooting a franchise at all. For example, some of you may already know that there are two different iterations of Resident Evil 1. Both games even have the same title. However, one is the original game that was released back in 1996 and kickstarted the entire franchise, while the other one is actually a remake of said first game, released in 2002 on more modern hardware with modernized graphics and mechanics while adding in more details and changes from the original game, not a reboot. I also doubt that anyone honestly thought that Smash for Wii U and 3DS were supposed to be reboots for the Smash series just because they share a similar title with the very first Smash game. They're just the next main installments for the series. Nothing more, nothing less. The same thing could be said about Mortal Kombat 9, aka Mortal Kombat 2011. While the game does try to use time travel to reset the MK storyline, the game still acknowledges nearly everything that happened in the previous Mortal Kombat games leading up to Armageddon, while maintaining the backgrounds of its core characters, which again is something that a soft reboot would do. You guys understand where I'm going with this, right? Just because Sonic 06 or Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 has the same name as the first game in the franchise does not mean that it's a reboot, especially when it doesn't even follow the definition of the word. It's a soft reboot. And no, these two words are not synonymous with each other at all. So do you finally understand what I mean, Bowie? Bowie?
Bowie! Huh? Oh, sorry, I got knocked out by someone's boring presentation! I mean, you literally talked more about other franchises than we did about Sonic 06!
Just get out of here, Bowie. Clearly that bedsheet you're wearing is suffocating your brain because you can't process the most basic things.
Yeah, something, you're a left-brain mongrel. I'm out of here!
Be sure to let the door hit you on the way out.
Oh, well Hey!
But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully by watching this you now know what an actual reboot is and understand why Sonic 06 is not one. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you enjoy my content so far, feel free to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated for future content. And as a closing side note, if anyone claims that Sonic 06 is a reboot, tell them that it's actually a soft reboot for the franchise. Stay fresh.